There's a very common question I get asked on the channel, and that's what are the best altcoins I can buy for the highest possible returns in 2025, but also the safest plays as well. And there's a nice concoction and mixture that we can create here and find that, again, will let you sleep at night, but also give you the highest possible returns. And so I've constructed a portfolio with the top 10 projects that you absolutely need for 2025 to make that happen. I'm going to go one step further though and give you the reasons why, what to look out for, and in general, how to actually play the next bull market with these altcoins. So I'm going to steer your attention now to the projects on your screen, well, at least the project on your screen. Obviously, we can see Mina Protocol, but one thing I want to stress here and that you won't find anywhere else is I've picked different narratives for these projects, okay? So I haven't just picked 10 layer ones, or I haven't just picked 10 DeFi projects. I've picked a diverse range of projects that are also very, very good so that you can take advantage of narratives. Now, one thing we found in the last bull cycle was, and you see projects, people all the time talking about this, the path to alt season chart, this so-called waterfall, right? Phase one, Bitcoin, you pretty much find people take their money out of Bitcoin, buy things like Ethereum, and then from there, large caps down to very, very small caps. We have an alt season, right? And this is a typical narrative people still tend to push, but I found we didn't really have this in 2021. What we found really happened in the last cycle was narratives, right? We found something similar to this. Now, this was pointed out to me by a subscriber I was talking to today, and I really felt like I had to actually push this topic on today's video, right? So there's a reason why we need to look into the narratives of each project, because they, plus important roadmap events per project here, are when price appreciates suddenly. So we don't find that this is going to probably play out again. Well, we didn't find it for 2021 at least. Yes, to some degree that still does play out, right? People take profits in Bitcoin and they reinvest those. Fair enough. But what we find is more important to look at, as like I pointed out with the ADA chart over here, is that you actually find that ADA in blue will pick up while Bitcoin isn't, right? So Bitcoin is obviously the orangey color there. So you can see ADA spikes, but yet Bitcoin is going down. Why? Well, it's simple. Either there was a narrative that occurred here or a roadmap event / announcement from ADA themselves. Same thing happened over here. ADA pumps up, not as much as Bitcoin, so on and so forth. You could argue, hey, it's the money flowing in and out of Bitcoin, whatever it might be. Yes, that you can pretty much argue that in any case, but I'm saying it's very important for us to look within the narratives and the roadmap events as well. Overall, Bitcoin's still going to dictate the sentiment of the market overall, but of course, this is what we need to look for in our projects, okay? So I want to stress that. Now, where narratives come into this and why I have pointed out my narrative scale here from ranking them 1 to 10 in terms of their explosive power in 2025 is that if we can find projects like with Mina, for example here, that hit multiple different narratives, what we can do in the example of Cardano down here is when we find they're, trading, they might go up. The rest of the market's pretty static. They'll go up, so we can take advantage of when they pump, right? From privacy, or from, let's just say, if Mina Protocol's also got gaming involved as well, if gaming pumps up, so will Mina. And what we do in this case is we just simply take profits off the table as soon as we can. And the more narratives of projects in and deeper it is in, the better, because then we can pretty much consistently take profits all the way up, right? So hopefully you guys understand why that's very, very important, and also why it's important to check your projects every single day, because if it's too hard for you to look through all your projects every single day to keep up to speed with it, we got way too many projects in your portfolio, right? So with all that out the way, number one project is Mina Protocol. Currently at a 400 million market cap, this is an underdog in my opinion. Mina Protocol has some amazing things coming up for in the roadmap. I'm going to show you guys in just a second. And guess what? We're looking at the last 12 months on the chart here, and why? Why the last 12 months? Well, it's pretty much since the bear market started. A little bit more now. We've come a fair few months from when I first started looking at this. More or less, though, since the bear market inception, okay? So what we're going to do at this is find, okay, so should we start buying now? Like, is the price right now reasonable with the last 12 months? And you'll find some projects on this list aren't, but Mina Protocol had its all-time low only a month ago at 38 cents. And we're currently 44 cents. So Mina Protocol is a fantastic buy right now. I got in an ICO at 25 cents to put that in perspective. So not even a 2x up from this current price. So it is a fantastic time to buy. Also narratives over here, as you can see, layer one, privacy, Oracle, and also ZKPs as well. So ZKPs are a bit of an iffy one. They might have a run, they might not. I didn't really list them over here, but most definitely layer one, privacy, and Oracle, which is fantastic. And again, as I mentioned before, we have to look at their roadmap. Now, I'm not going to go through your roadmap for every single one of these projects because the video will probably be half an hour long, but essentially I'm going to use Mina and a couple other ones for examples for you guys. But we can see Mina, it's an interactive roadmap, right? It's awesome, it's fantastic. And what we're looking for here is important roadmap events that are coming out that won't just get the Mina community interested, that you look at and you go, holy crap, this is an awesome update. I want to buy in because of that. And that's what draws in the attention. So you can have a massive rally for a project based on a narrative and therefore how different it is from the other projects in that narrative, if that makes sense. But also, Mina Protocol might have a really important update. And on the rare circumstance that, for example, privacy has a really big narrative and a massive roadmap event for Mina comes out, or an announcement, you can damn well bet Mina's gonna have a massive run and it might hit an all-time high when Bitcoin hasn't hit its all-time high yet, which is so important. And that's why we have to look at individual projects and keep up to speed, because they all just don't have one big run, guys. They're not just all capping out at a certain point. They have individual levels where they hit all-time highs separately, okay? So we have to absolutely be prepared, right? So Mina Protocol has some very, very important things coming out. They've got modular blockchain off-chain storage coming out here, which will definitely drag in people running Mina and Mina, which is huge. But even bigger, instant finality, which is massive, and even bigger, infinitely scalable. They're sharding their network, which is massive, okay? Also, cross-chain custody over here. Guys, there's some massive things coming out for Mina. This is why I'm so bullish on it, because just the roadmap events itself are going to draw in so many people, okay? So Mina takes the #1 spot. Now, or should I say first spot, not #1 spot. Number 2, we have Fetch AI. So this is the AI narrative. So we hit privacy. Now it's AI, okay? Simple. Fetch pretty much is only one narrative, right? It's not multiple different narratives. I mean, you can definitely pick multiple narratives, but I would say that AI, it's not going to really run up from a different sort of thing. It's definitely going to run up only from AI, in my opinion. So we're mainly looking at Fetch in this case for that sort of play, okay, for that narrative situation. And it actually had, in the last 12 months, right, not its all-time low, but its lowest point in the last 12 months, November 22nd last year at 6 cents, okay? So we are about a 3.5x or so up from that right now, which isn't too bad. Yes, we'd prefer lower, of course, but in respects to this year, okay, we aren't that too, we're pretty much the lowest point, almost, okay? So yeah, it's not too bad right now, and that's why Fetch gets number 2. I will run through Fetch's roadmap here just to show you guys a very important thing, and that is, again, looking for things that aren't really attractive, okay? So you can see, if we scroll down to the bottom here, one, it's very important we look into 24 and 25 events, okay? But also we look for events that aren't interesting, because you don't want to get them confused. A big roadmap event's gonna attract people. A small or just boring sounding event won't. Okay, so for example, right, XLR bridge swap and wallet. Okay, that sounds cool for the Fetch crew or for the Fetch community, but, if you like Fetch as well, it might sound interesting, but it's definitely not going to drag in the majority of people, right? We're looking for things that are going to be wow factors. Now, some projects might not have that because either, like in Fetch's case, they don't extend their roadmap out that far, or simply because there's nothing amazing happening. But there's definitely connections that can spawn between now and then that obviously come in the spur of the moment, or they don't want to announce on their roadmap, okay? So it's definitely important, even though the roadmap doesn't say anything, that you keep tabs. As I said, you should be able to read a 5-minute blog per project every day. If you can't afford to do that, if that takes too much time to do per project, you're doing it wrong. So number 3 spot is Flux. Now, Flux hits us into the nice distributed computing sector, and these guys also hit storage as well. So we're hitting kind of 2 narratives here. So obviously, again, right, distributed computing goes up, so is render as well. While we can take a profit on Flux, it comes back down, and storage comes up like 6 months later, we can take profits again as storage. Now, again, be very, very careful and mindful on the fact that Flux might, hypothetically speaking, have its all-time high back over here, and it might never hit it again, okay? So we have to make sure that we're taking profits on these massive runs, because again, it doesn't always just follow Bitcoin, right? We don't always have this one tipping off point where we can always sell our tokens. So Flux's case, we're actually currently at its lowest prices since 2021. Again, this is the last 12 months, like all the projects on this list. So yes, if you're someone who wants to buy Flux, this is as good of a time as ever, period, to buy Flux, okay? Now, number 4, we have Mina Protocol. Guys, Mina has one of the biggest updates coming out. This will be the last project I look over for, actually the second last project for today's list in terms of going through their roadmap. And Mina Protocol is a Web3 general purpose layer 1. So that just pretty much means they do everything within Web3. They do DeFi, they do gaming, they do metaverse things, they do NFTs, whatever, Web3 can spawn, they do as a general purpose infrastructure project, okay? So again, they'll benefit from the layer 1 Web3-esque. I mean, layer 1 definitely will have a good narrative. I've rated it about a 9 out of 10, but I don't know per se about Web3 blockchain. That doesn't really sound like a very narrative-based thing, but again, there's always new narratives forming, so I added that in there just in case it is something that pops off, because it's competing with Solana in that case, Cardano, so on and so forth, right? And also there might be a narrative called modular network, But the one thing I want to say about Mina Protocol, just like we'll touch on in a second with another project, hint, hint, HBAR, I'll just go ahead and say it, is that whilst there isn't any amazing sort of grand narratives at play here because they're layer 1 projects, they have some amazing roadmap events coming up, okay? So this is Mina Protocol's roadmap, and actually they're coming out with some pretty important things. See this here, phase 3 on their sharding, so phase 3 of their sharding process, they're incorporating what's called dynamic resharding, which is their final process in their 3-step phase of their protocol, right? So that it'll allow the network to grow and expand with demand and traffic, okay? So that being finalized and complete in about Q4 of 2024 will be absolutely massive for the price, and probably it will be priced in months before it actually comes out, okay? So make sure you're in before that. Now, as of this last 12 months, the lowest price was somewhat recently, June of this year, and it hit $1.15. So right now, $1.40 isn't too bad at all, okay? Now, project number 5, XLM. So Stellar currently about a $3.9 billion market cap. So it's up there. When I started covering Stellar a few months ago more heavily, it was at about a 2 billion market cap, guys. So I think, of course, it'll go a lot higher than even 3.9 billion. And this hits us the payment sector, okay? So obviously we have XRP. A lot of people complain I don't talk about XRP a lot. Well, it's just because I prefer XLM. Simple as that, right? My personal preference. XLM hits layer 1, payments, DeFi, and tokenization, okay? So DeFi kind of loose, but definitely hits DeFi more than other networks because of Soroban. It's hyper-focused on DeFi essentially, and tokenization, of course, as well. Now, in terms of its current price, well, yeah, I mean, it went up quite dramatically recently because of the XRP news, like some of the other projects did as well. And the lowest price it was in the last 12 months was January of this year at 7 cents. So actually, considering the massive pump, we're only a 2x up from its low this year, which isn't too bad, okay? So XLM's roadmap, now, again, this is kind of, it's a bit of a read, this one, but it's definitely a good read. They pretty much go over some very important things. They're hyper-focused on utility, which is very, very important. And they pretty much just go through how they're going to be launching and upgrading their Soroban framework, which is their pretty much like their layer 1 infrastructure. It's just for dApps, essentially. They're looking to scale for expected growth, so on and so forth, right? So I've gone over this multiple times in different videos. They're just pretty much planning on getting ready to onboard like a Web 2 environment, essentially, okay? So yeah, massive, massive player in the upcoming space. Again, I expect high returns out of this project in 2025. Now, number 6, of course, we have QNT. $1.2 billion market cap. Of course, you guys know what QNT hits. Interoperability and also tokenization to some degree as well. And the lowest point in the last 12 months was September last year. It was at $90, okay? So yeah, we're only like $10 up from that price. So yes, definitely good. Actually, it was funny because right before this, it went down to about $40, okay? So keep it in mind, it actually was lower since the bear market started, but I think that we probably won't see, unless there's a black swan event, QNT any lower than $90 again, maybe $80 worst case, okay? Now, number 7, as promised, we have HBAR, my all-time favorite project. HBAR, $1.7 billion market cap right now. Enterprise, so it is focused on the layer 1 general purpose sector as well. Tokenization is what it also hits. It hits gaming, it hits everything, supply chain, IoT. But of course, this is where I think it will definitely take off the most in 2025. And of course, where people are going to pretty much want to buy it, right? So there's no point in me saying it's going to fit into X narrative if no one sees it, thinks it fits into X narrative. Do you know what I mean? Like I could say, hey, HBAR's in a gaming. Well, if there's really no gaming projects on HBAR and it's like not really known for gaming, then it's not going to really have a narrative because of gaming. So keep in mind, narratives are pretty much where the most of the money will flow into. And I think HBAR is a fantastic project. These guys are actually incorporating sharding. So they're actually looking to shard their hash graph so they're infinitely scalable. There's some really, really important upgrades coming out. They're looking to bring on more. They're looking to establish community nodes on the network as well, furthering decentralization. There is some massive stuff happening for HBAR, and of course, these guys are always popping off some really, really big news, almost like every month at this point, right? So the lowest point was January this year. Actually, it was the first of the first, and it hit about 3.6 cents. So we aren't too bad up. We're not even a 2x up from its low in the last 12 months, guys. So I think it's the lowest point over here since back in 2020, 2021. So yeah, fantastic time to buy in my opinion, HBAR. I've always said if you can get HBAR for anything less than, what am I doing here? 5 cents, it's a steal, okay? Now, Number 8, XDC. You might be thinking to yourself, current XDC has had a massive pump. It went from about like literally a week ago, $500 million market cap to now $828 million. And to that I say, yes, it's a fantastic narrative. Remember, we're looking for fantastic projects for 2025 as well. So layer 1, trade finance tokenization. Pretty simple. These guys have a public network as well. So they, you can argue, hey, they hit Web3, they do this and do that. But again, we're trying to find the main narratives where it will pop off, in my opinion. So that's where it mainly will be focused. So if you're buying XDC, that's where you have to focus your attention in those particular narrative seasons. Now, its lowest point was December last year, and it had about 2 cents. So we're about a 3x up from that right now at about 6 cents. You can just see the massive pump, and that's because there's been some massive news with XDC because the UK have passed a bill that will allow XDC to truly flourish, okay? And honestly, they're just doing massive things overall. So yes, there will be a retracement. I can guarantee you that what comes up must go down. So what goes up must come down, rather. So you can damn well bet you'll be able to buy this project a lot cheaper before 2025 kicks off, okay? Number 9, second to last, we have Morpheus Network, a microcap under $50 million right now, hitting the supply chain sector. Now, I was going to put VETs in here, VeChain, but I thought, you know what, I'll put Morpheus because Morpheus is a lot lower market cap. It got like the award for the best blockchain for the supply chain space, I think this year or last year. So it's definitely a very good contender. And so obviously it's focusing on supply chain / logistics, if you will. And yeah, again, microcap guys. So there's a lot of potential here opposed to VeChain. So it's definitely a play to look out for. However, we are quite up right now from its lowest point in the last 12 months. August last year, 45 cents. We're up right now just over a 2x, okay? So keep that in mind again, but it's not too bad because if you consider that the fact that, pretty much since the start of the year, we have almost been on par, right? So this is pretty much January this year. So yeah, we've pretty much come back down to the start of the year lows, which is pretty important, right? And now last but definitely not least, we have Chainlink, right? $4 billion market cap. Again, it's pumped up recently. I think the last time I covered Chainlink was about $3 billion market cap, and obviously hits Oracle, but actually it's Oracle / interoperability because CCIP has recently come out, the cross-chain interoperability protocol, which pretty much allows any dApp, not just a dApp connecting through a network, but a dApp to dApp service, and also a cross-chain DEX essentially has been launched recently. So there's a lot of high potential coming here. Economics 2.0 is coming out for Chainlink as well. And as we can see over here, $5.11 was pretty much the lowest point it had got to, which happened to be 1 month ago, right? So we had a pretty large pump. We're at $7.50 right now. So yeah, it's a very, very good purchase for anyone that did buy on these lows, okay? So guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you have enjoyed these top 10 projects. These are fantastic in my opinion. If you're someone who is looking to be diverse, who's looking for someone to find multi-narrative plays, because that's going to be the main driver of demand, I believe, in 2025, not this waterfall effect. The waterfall effect will still take place, but you have to be aware, again, you'll be acutely aware of your projects intimately, because obviously if they have some good news, connection news, or obviously they have a narrative pump, you got to be there and take profits off the table. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed, and if you have, please hit the like button and subscribe. I do 2 videos every single day. Take good care. Talk soon. Bye.